Goldfinger, he's the man with the Midas touch, a spider's touch, such a cold finger beckons you to enter his web of sin. But don't go in. Golden words he will pour in your ear, but his lies can't disguise what you feel. For a golden girl knows when he's kissed her, it's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is cold. Golden words he will pour in your ear, but his lies can't disguise what you fear. For a golden girl knows when he's kissed her, it's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is cold. He loves only gold. Only gold. He loves gold. He loves only gold. Only gold. He loves
We're gathering together at the beloved Phyllis's Musical Inn, home of Shag's Little Thing for many years, to remember and celebrate the life of our friend Shag, who passed away on May 10, 2021. Shag, through his open mic variety show, his indomitable social presence, and enthusiasm for everything wacky and artistic, brought together many people in Chicago, including poets, musicians, comedians, artists, and characters from all walks of life. We will never forget his encouragement, his enthusiasm, the opportunities for expression and connection he provided, and of course, his signature poem, Social Realism in Dark Bars. Folks are invited to share in whatever form they wish, and then, you know, of course there's questions about how this event came about. So I'll try and explain. Shappy, the poet, who was a very good friend and at some point a roommate of Shag, he died on March 20, 2022. And there was a Zoom memorial that was put together by Robbie Q. Telfler, and I attended virtually, and it was really nice to hear people telling stories and talking about their memories of Shappy, like what a nice guy he was. And I remember about him. I remember he was a really nice guy. I remember hanging out with Shappy and Shag. In fact, I have a very distinct memory of hanging out with Shappy and Shag at Mutiny after the open mic Yammer, which was hosted by Lisa Heminger at Joy Blue, which was at Irving Park in Southport on a Wednesday. And I remember this from around 2001, and they were really nice to me, and it meant the world to me that they included me. So in thinking about Shappy, I started Googling, and I found Shag's very brief obituary, which basically said that he died in hospice in Wisconsin, and the funeral was private, and there was nothing else said about him at all. So I called the funeral home, and I spoke to the funeral home owner, and I confirmed that he had passed away, and I wanted to find out if there's any additional information, but he really couldn't, for privacy, couldn't really share with me. Shag's parents were elderly, so I did write a letter and I sent a condolence note to forward to the family. So the family's not involved. So this is for our friends who remember him as a writer and a performer and a man about town. And part of what I remember about Shag was when I started reading at open mics more around that time, early 2000s, specifically at Lisa Hemminger's open mic, Yammer. I was so nervous, and it would take me all day just to psych myself up to go to a bar and read poetry in front of strangers. So I literally needed somebody to literally hold my hand, and Shag at that time literally held my hand, and all these things happened because I was included, and Shag was my friend. And he invited me to his show theater, and he had little mini flyers that he printed on yellow paper. And I started coming on Tuesday nights, and I would work the closing shift at my retail job and get dinner, and then I would take the division bus to Phyllis's Musical Inn, and I met Rich here, who sadly can't make it today, and lots of other people. For a while, early in his career, Hannibal Buress used to come to Shag's show, and Joe Rorty is here. So a lot of times it was me and Joe Rorty and Shag, and sometimes Hannibal Buress, and sometimes Sax Douglas, and sometimes Bert Heyman.
Bert!
Yeah.
Bert.
And so Shag and I, this is
Blair. Blair.
Right.
Blair.
Okay, so I'll stop there.
Okay. One of them came from a passage from 1996. I was 25 years old, and I think I was taking a class called School of Design and Society at the University of Illinois, and I was trying to do a sort of an avant-garde poem called "Why Do I Like Lyndon So Much?" and this is actually going to be an excerpt from that. It's not the whole thing. So it goes like this. It's not the whole poem, right? Lyndon is so beautiful to me. Lyndon is so bountiful to me. Lyndon is so wonderful to me. This wood is so lively that it delights me with glee. Why do I like this wood called Lyndon? It would go just like this. Lyndon is more than just a lovely word. Lyndon is also a lovely name. Lyndon sounds just like a beautiful song or a singing bird. It sounds sweet, pretty, and alluring, just like a debonair dame. There's a lot of names that can be composed with Lyndon, which can sound like joyful music that is so divine. It can range from Tanisha Linden to Lamar Jacobson Linden, and I don't care if it's a name or a word. It still is so fine. It's not the complete version. And then this is going to be about the second poem. Is probably going to be my last one. But I'm going to be. So since I have been falling in love with opera, actually, and parodies and all that, so I actually did a song in reaction to what happened to the crash of 2008. We had the crash, then we had the recession, and I got the hit too. It was called "Now I Realize My Fate," and actually, since I fell in love with opera especially as a teenager, this actually is a remake of Di Provenza Il Mar. That's of course from the opera known as La Traviata of Giuseppe Verdi. And I'm going to use my cell phone I said, so it's going to be something like karaoke. So I need your help. I need your help. Now I realize my fate. Now your job prospects are bleak. No one's hiring at this point, 'cause the economy is weak. My own resumes are void, and I'm left holding the bag for all those that are have-nots. I feel pity in their drag. Yes, the capitalist system is tearing us apart, and the 2008 recession's curse did break our heart. Yes, the capitalist system is tearing us apart, and the old 2008 recession's curse did break my heart. Here's the second verse of this. Okay, so it's not. The recession's gone, but now I had seen price hikes today. Our own funds had shrunk in size, and we still have had to pay. Yes, potent inflation looms. It could come at any time. Yeah, we had it up to here. We've been running out of time, out of options are we, and this stings us like a bee. There is no recourse out of this, and it feels like we're not free. All of options are we, and this stings us like a bee. There's no recourse out of this, and it feels like we're not free. We're not free. There's no recourse out of this, and it feels weird, like we're not free. That's it. So.
Annabelle Echo, everybody. Very glad to have her here. She's a doll.
My memories of Shag, I think were when I was attending Columbia College and then later working there. And Vito Carly, are you here, Vito? Vito started me going to all these open mics, and Shag was almost always there. And he was dating this woman, Ellen. I won't put her last name. Anyway, so then Ellen moved in with Matt Marsden, who's an artist. And this guy, Matt Marsden, the apartment was filled with old toys and toilet seats. But I don't know if Shag was still going out with Ellen when she was living with Matt Marsden. It was so confusing because he had so much junk in the apartment. So anyway, he's an artist now. Okay, so I'll read a couple poems. So can everyone hear me okay? Okay. So this first poem is inspired by the Bishop Larry Gavers, and it's influenced by Ryan Gallagher and Glenn Greenwald. Okay. Pattern per the Bishop. You got me started now. What is gumfish? Glad you asked. Circumventing encryption, gumfish uses a powerful paradigm to covertly take over my webcam. What is grok? Glad you asked. Circumventing encryption, grok uses modern terms to log my keystrokes. Where is Foggy Bottom? Glad you asked. Circumventing encryption, Foggy Bottom is inside my virtual private network tunnel, recording and collecting. Where is my ex-husband? Quantumsky, Hammerstein, Hammerchant. Oh, Hammerchant, okay. Glad you asked. He had such a long name, I forgot. Circumventing encryption, he and Salvage Rabbit are holed up in an industrial-scale, clandestine eavesdropping base within a top-secret covert infrastructure. What is reality? Glad you asked. Circumventing encryption, each and every week, the masses are manipulated by the manipulating force whose sole intent is to regulate manipulation of men's souls. Why is my code name Willow Vixen? Stop, you got me started. Circumventing encryption, that is another topic for another day. Thank you. And that was, like I said, inspired by the Bishop Larry Gators and Ryan Gallagher and Glenn Greenwald. So I combined all their... I'll do one more. Okay, so everyone knows about the Mandela effect, and so when I wrote this, it always said add a public comment, add a public comment. So now, for some reason, it says add a comment. I mean, what happened to the word public? Okay, so this poem is called Add a Public Comment. Okay, all right. Okay, whoever wrote this, don't write no more poems. Hope the person who posted this poem gets clickbaited into thinking she's going to heaven, but really, she's going to the hottest part of hell. Everyone should report this poem as misleading. I think we've all learned a valuable lesson. Go to the comments first. Just read this whole poem without checking comments first. That's real severe pain. Wish I would have seen the comments first. I wasted 2 minutes and 29 seconds of my life. 34 seconds in, I looked at the comments, I was saved. You're trying to find out what's going on in this poem from the comments, but all you see are comments on being glad that the comments were checked first. Clickbait. This is against Facebook policies. Congratulations, Annabelle Echo. You've managed to waste 2.5 minutes of nearly 1 million people's lives. The creator of this poem should have to lash herself in the back 40 times, then sit for 3 hours and ponder her existence. That's 8,333 hours wasted. You should be fined $10 for each hour. Think I'll burn some time trying to find out where exactly and who exactly wrote this poem. After I find that answer, the title of the poem will be turned on that person. A poem will be written and it will go on the dark net. See you soon.
Leading from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. One day I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh why can't I?
Shag's show and the way Shag run it was really important to the poetry scene, especially at that time. Shag's show, Shag's little thing here on this stage, was this late night freewheeling thing where anything was possible and everything was encouraged. I mean, it allowed a whole bunch of poets that wouldn't have been comfortable reading at Weeds, wouldn't have been comfortable reading at the Green Mill, to come to a place where they could do anything. And that was the real important thing about what Shag did here. And you could show up here and you wouldn't know if you'd have somebody playing the guitar, have somebody playing a flute with their nose. Okay, God, what else have I seen here? People strip down to their underwear and read a poem. Only once though. And a whole bunch of great poets have graced the stage at Shag's little thing, and that's what was so important about it. Poets like Jason Noah and people like that developed here. They would come here because they could do anything, and Shag encouraged that. I don't have a poem about Shag, but I'm going to read a poem about crosses, which is kind of about dead people and stuff. So I'm going to do a poem that half the audience has heard already, and I'm going to remember the crosses. In the desert Southwest, they use small white crosses on the roadside to mark the spot of a tragic death, a traffic accident, or someone who died of exposure. I'm sure driver education teachers scowl and point to the side of the road saying, remember the crosses. Here in the Midwest, we are less sentimental. The holes in our guardrails are repaired nearly overnight. There's an old woman at the Cactus Bar and Grill. She inhales deeply on her schnapps. Her life is lonely and sad. She picks up her purse, slinging it over her shoulder like it was a cross of Jesus Christ himself. She walks stiff-legged to the door, and her life is so tragic that little white crosses appear everywhere she goes, following her home and springing up like needles on the floor that she paces at night. Across that sad, dry country, there is so much misery that the very earth of the desert moans, creating a resonance in every roadside, which is a signal across the rest of the nation which says, remember the crosses, making crosses appear throughout the land, like mushrooms on your lawn. Bare one day, there the next. Everywhere there is a hint of tragedy, a little white cross springs from the earth, like Arlington National Cemetery gone mad. I look, and I find myself surrounded by a sea of many crosses. The names, dates, places, all familiar to me, and Shag's name is on one of those crosses. The names, dates, places, all familiar to me. Echoing in my head, there is one phrase, remember the crosses. Although I close my eyes and ears, I hear, remember the crosses. And before me, a shady and indistinct cross appears with my name and my date of birth written on it, waiting for me. I want to run away. I want to make this magical vision that allows me to see all the pain and suffering in the world fade away. You see, I've always wanted to make some place where people could come and hang their crosses by the door, a place where sadness and tragedy cannot penetrate. But this is something that I cannot do, for I was born in the Midwest, and in the Midwest, we are less sentimental.
Oh, great.
I often wonder if the crosses we erect for our fellow poets when they're no longer with us anymore, and that we form and set this cross up to remember them and hope to remember them for the rest of our lives. I often wonder if and what needs to happen in order for those crosses to keep standing long after they're gone, and I hope that Shag's cross stays standing long after he is gone.
Shag hated this. It disrupted the timing of his show. Professionalism was everything to Shag. The other thing that Shag would hate, this is actually, it was something that I wrote for Shappy when I found out that Shappy died. So, but Shag is in it, and it's about that time, which if people that were around. Yeah. Yeah. I was mourning Shappy, so I went to Otto's to get blotto. Listening to punk, rockabilly, blow your brains out, whatever. like the way 4 a.m. North and Damon after your open mic, you used to scream at Shag. Fuck you. No, fuck you. No, fuck you. While denizens of 4 a.m. staggered around in the darkest before the dawn light, when nothing means everything, and everything is breakfast at Ashland and North. Omelets splashed with hot sauce, regaling your 0-hour companions with dreams of taking over the Chicago slam scene, and then taking your act on the road to New York and conquering the poetry world. Fuck you! No, fuck you! There are a lot of bards trying to conquer the world. There are a lot of bards trying to conquer the world. There are a lot of bards trying to conquer the world. And then Shappy and Shag, there were you. So I went to Otto's to get Blotto and listen to the DJ play the bands that crashed and burned. And instead of that, the DJ was running a Trivial Pursuit contest. I laughed. The way I laughed when you made fun of all the yuppies fucking up your favorite bars. Oh, Shappy.
Here we go.
And Shag. You made a couple of bucks running those games yourself. Oh, Shappy and Shag. It doesn't mean a thing. You still shine for me, a star in impenetrable gloom that I was born in, live in, and will die in, like you died. Where everything is nothing, and nothing screams back. Fuck you! No, fuck you! Thanks, folks. I'd like to read one more. Inspired by Phyllis's. The Rocks. Shitty, hardcore punk bands that don't know how to play any music. The Rocks. It's hysteria. Sexual hysteria. Not normal hysteria. Sexual hysteria. Overheated. Like a Jane Campion movie. Tableaus of infinite frustration. That's where I'm at. That's what I want to hear. Real rite of spring shit. Panned into bushes. The third leg. Playing the flute. People say it's shit. Can't they hear? The rocks, their ears plugged with wax, so they ignore the sirens. They ignore the sirens. They ignore the sirens. They ignore the sirens, alluring, seducing them to the rocks where they crash ecstatically to relieve that fucking frustration. Their ears are stuffed with wax. They don't hear it. So they row endlessly on. They row endlessly on. They row endlessly on. I'm tied to the mast, pummeled by waves and waves of shitty punk hardcore. The open ocean, rippling in peace and light, is a curse. The rocks, my dream. The rocks, my hope. The rocks, you fools! The rocks! Thanks a lot, Phyllis's. All you've done for us. And Shag, and Chappie. Thank you, Chicago poetry. You've made us what we are.
Many of my friends here. That was before the Intertown Pub days. And it was Shag. I'm almost positive this was a long time ago. And when I first moved to Chicago, and I was working the one and only corporate job I ever had, and I fucking hated it. And Shag, I came here for this late night open mic, and it was the most esoteric thing I'd ever been a part of. And he gave people permission to be freaky. In the same way that listening to Prince gave people permission to be freaky. I feel like Shag gave that to us. I have a lot of anecdotes. I think I'll let some of the music do the talking. But it was very sad to... I'm gonna let the music do the talking. This song's by Tom McRae. Thought I'd write you a letter about all the things that have changed since the days when we were king and queen of all that we surveyed. In all the coolest places, wore the future in our skin, and we stood outside on winter's nights and smoked ourselves thin. We were clever and cynical and fashionably bored. We were the walking, talking, time out New York. Honey, all that's gone. Baby, all that's gone. I used to have opinions, and I wore them like my clothes. But what seemed like a position turned out to be a pose. We said that we were both gonna be big rock and roll stars, but my soul never found a buyer, unlike all my guitars. I've lost touch with many things, wrote myself out of the scene, but time has worn a hole in me, a place I keep my dreams. Honey, all that's gone. Baby, all that's gone. Honey, all that's gone. Baby, all that's gone. I keep for me, bits and pieces of a life. And I apologize for not dying young or opening up a vein, and for keeping close the ones I love and never naming names. To my friends I still sound hopeful, that's just whistling in the dark, 'cause I'm down here in the dirt, the fossil of my heart. Honey, all that's gone, baby, all that's gone. Honey, all that's gone, baby, all that's gone. So I hope this letter finds you just as well as when we met. Our ambitions may have faded, babe, but your beauty never did. And at night when I have drunk enough and I'm full of hope and wine, I recall a melody, your voice and mine. So we can still be king and queen, if only for tonight, 'cause somewhere in our history the future's shining bright. But honey, all that, thank you, God, maybe all that's gone. Honey, all that's gone, baby, all that's gone. Hey, I didn't write that. Cool. All right. Yeah. I remember we had a party at my place, and the theme was perfect for Shag. I mean, it was like early 60s. I was watching a lot of Mad Men, and we had like an early 60s theme party. It was great. We had like Serge Gainsbourg songs on. I was gonna say on the hi-fi. It wasn't. Just on the radio. on the iPad. And we had great 60s songs and Motown, and Shag, as was his wont, came late. But he was the only sober one in the room. And we said we were out of ice. And the liquor store closes in like 5 minutes. And Shag, volunteer that he was, he said, I'll get it. And he did, man. He ran down 4 flights of steps, down the block. He must have run. I don't know how he made it. Back to the place, 2 big sacks of ice over his shoulder. He was a scrawny guy. I can't breathe this. 2 big stacks of ice, and he came in and everybody celebrated him. Shag! It was like he had hit the jackpot on a slot machine, and like everyone gathered around to go, yeah, there it goes, there it goes. Everybody gathered around him. He was magnetic like that. Hard to love, easy to like, and magnetic. He brought us all together back then, and he brings us together again now. To quote Lawrence Kasdan, they throw you a big party on the one day they know you can't come. Shag and I dated the same woman. It did not work out well for either of us. She was a wonderful girl. She's the one that taught us all about borderline personality. And,
Alan Marcus.
oh boy. I said I wouldn't name names. Did you hear it in the last song? I wouldn't name names.
Yeah, because she moved in with Matt Marty.
Yeah, she did. That's right. I was in there, man. He'd be doing his illustrating and drinking his... Yeah. Yeah, they had a crazy apartment. Anyway, this song reminded me of her as soon as I heard it. Again, I didn't write it. It's by Ockerville River. I don't know the guy's real name. All right. 2, 3. 4. That's pretty basic.
Who just briefly rambles a few stories or anecdotes or impressions or something, I guess. Anyway, first of all, thank you for putting this together. I'm really happy to see a lot of people I haven't seen in many years. And Phyllis's, sadly, I think I've only been in here once or twice since the days I used to come to Shag's little thing about like every week for, I don't know, I think a good solid 6 months, or was it a year? I don't know, but I definitely hung out with a lot of you back then and went to a lot of bars after that. Anyway, I just wanted to say I was really, I was really surprised to hear the news about Shag. It was a real shock to me. And I missed him. I hadn't seen him in a few years. I didn't even know he left Chicago. But he made a big impression on me and a lot of us in this room back then. This would have been around like 2004 was around the time I would come here every week for his show and then do the wonderful tour of like 2-3 bars afterwards, 2 a.m. bars and 4 a.m. bars in Wicker Park, and it was just it's kind of an interesting time in my life. And it wasn't until years later I started going to bars a lot more. Like anyway, that was yeah. And I also got to go to kind of a lot of like arts events with him at the time, so I knew some people were more in like the visual arts scene. And I enjoyed his show, and as people have mentioned, what a kind of eclectic variety of stuff it was. I've never really written poetry, so I didn't do poetry. Maybe once or twice I would like find someone else's work and try to perform. I don't know if I ever did any, like what I like to do, which is sort of nonfiction and stories, and all that kind of became the thing in the literary scene in Chicago, like years later, and all the lit shows are like stories, but at the time it was kind of very much a poetry scene, so I didn't really kind of know what to do. But I enjoyed being here and enjoying everyone else's music and poetry. So yeah, this is the time I spent a lot of time with Shag around then, and I think he was the one who tried to like teach me to mix cocktails and show me. Yeah, I really did learn at the time. time. I may have forgotten a lot of it since then, but he had quite an impressive bar at home, so there was a lot of like mixing cocktails. There's a lot of kind of odd cooking. He had a lot of cats. This was around the time they lived with Fax Douglas, who's someone else a lot of people know from the scene. So yeah, it was an interesting time. We would also just, you know, if it wasn't going out to bars, sometimes it was Sunday nights especially was when like all the really weird shows were on WBZ at the time, all the like the weird late night talking kind of shows that were, you know, just the kind of thing you could imagine and liking. So I kind of got into that for a while, and I don't know. Yeah, it was really a shock to learn that he's gone and that this happened a while ago, and I didn't even know, because I know in the years since then, I just, you know, memories from that time are still in my head, still come to me often. People I knew from then, bars we went to, just a lot about that time still pops into my head. And Frank, I will admit, one of my only like name-droppy stories I ever tell people is like, oh, I used to go to this open mic all the time back in Wicker Park, and that was one of the places Handel Burris like would get a start, and I would run into him on the bus, you know, like on the way, or on the, you know, or just at random times. So that's kind of about the only story I had. But I don't know. It was just a very, very interesting person to me and to a lot of people here, and I don't know. I know I'm anything too profound to say. I just want, like I said, wanted to ramble for a few minutes and just I don't know. I thought of trying to write a whole prepared thing, but honestly, that probably would have made me even more nervous to try and like read something. So I don't know. I think I'll just let it go at that and say thank you again for showing up to this and putting this together. I'm really glad I got to know him. I'm sorry I didn't get to, you know, see him more. But,
You're supposed to yell out whatever happened to Shag after each line. And he was really good at telling about party what was going on too. So let's say whatever happened to Shag. Let's try it. Whatever happened to Shag? I used to see him all over town. Whatever happened to Shag? Amidst the shakers, the fakers, the comment clowns. Whatever happened to Shag? He was at every art party that them gave him a glow. I saw him looking for love to meet me in a rainbow. He had a steady girlfriend that made him terribly happy for a while. His life was just quick, clever, and snappy. He wore a suit, snuggy beard, he was thin as a rail. He always wore a funky hat and his skin was pale. On occasion he was caustic, but he never was mean. I hope he comes back and re-enters the scene. Yeah, so I used to see him everywhere, and then something was kind of like nowhere, and a big change. And but I think he taught a lot of people that, you know, hosts have to be entertainers as well as literary people. And I appreciate everything he did for me. I think we help each other at some points. But so long, Shag. Yeah, so we'll do that.
Big gestures, long strides, head in the clouds, feet stomping pavement, art galleries, wine and cheese, coffee shops and diners, bar crawls and poetry readings, party hopping and staying too long, cocktails and kisses and conundrums, dilemmas and discernments and determinations, dark bars, dark streets, dark street corners, held hands through it all, martinis at Rainbow Club and Estelle's after Phyllis's Musical Inn, timeless vintage suits, maniacal, whimsical facial expressions, distinctive laugh, wacky sense of humor, freedom and curiosity, also care and sincerity, thinking fast and slow, relentless explorer, collector, forager, savor of ephemera, nostalgia, forgotten chivalry, abandoned technology, roamer of city, history, and mind, doing things in his own way and time.
How you doing, Phyllis? It's nice to see everybody, even though I could just see it like barely, but that's just because I had too many tequilas. It's kind of bittersweet that we're all here, I know, but I'm trying to remember when I met Shag, but I think we met in the same state, you know. I do remember he was here when I was trying to make sense of my life and write some songs and come out here and blow off some steam. And he was here as a support. He was here as a host. And you know, I really appreciated his being here and creating that community. I remember half you guys in the room, you know, Joe and Leonard and Jeremy and Derek and Guy. There's a lot of people in this room that I recognize and might not remember your name for good reason or bad reason or whatever. But I appreciate y'all being here, and thank you for sharing your art in one form or another that helped all of us create our art and continue to create our art and share it. So thank you, and thanks Shag. This is a little song called Welcome to My Home. We made Phyllis's our home for a while, and Shag was a big part of that. So. It's also about 15 years since we've gone to Rainbow Room. And about 15 years since I played this song. That song. You know what? Oh, you got it right. I'm going to play a drinking song called Martinis. Thought I was going to get all touchy-feely. Stop treating me like a clown. It's getting nothing around. Dude, clear, I'm still drunk. Martinis with Shag. Thank you, Shag. After I moved here from Orlando, and the first person I ever met was Shag in Chicago. When he and Thax used to do their open mic. And so, a special place in my heart. With apologies to Ginsburg, here's Kaddish for Shag. It's strange now to think of you without a glass in your hand. I walk on the sunny pavement of Division Avenue, Bucktown, a clear summer noon, and I've been up all night breathing the Kaddish out loud, listening to Ray Charles blues shout blind on the phonograph. The rhythm, and your memory in my head read Adonis' last triumphant stanzas aloud and wept, realizing how we suffer and how death is the remedy all singers dream of. Sing, remember, and prophesy as it is in the Hebrew anthem or the Buddhist book of answers and my own imagination of a withered leaf at dawn. It blows around me as I go out and walk the street, and I look back over my shoulder at Damon Avenue. The battlements of window office buildings shouldering each other high under a cloud, tall as the sky an instant, in the sky above an old blue place. But you're not old now. That's left here with me. With body parts as old as the universe, and I guess that dies with us, enough to cancel all that comes, what came before every time. But hey, that's good. It leaves it open for nothing, no regret, and no fear radiators, no lack love, torture, even a toothache in the head. And while it comes to us, it is a lion that eats the soul, and the lamb, the soul in us, alas, suffering itself in sacrifice to change his fierce hunger. Hair and teeth and the roar of bone pain, skull bare, break rib, rot skin, and brain-tricked implacability. It's only the sun that shines once for the mind, only the flash of existence and nothing beyond what we have, what you had. That's so pitiful, yet triumphant to have been here and changed, like a tree broken or a flower fed to the ground. But mad with its petals colored, thinking great universe shaking, cut in the head, leaf script hid in an egg crate hospital, cloth wrapped, and sore freaked in the moon brain, knotless. There was no flower like that flower which knew itself in the garden and fought the knife, and is now replanted in memories.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I remember Shag, when you said come on up and do your thing, it makes me remember when Shag used to host his show, he used to always say, next up, whoever the performer, come on up and get down. Yes, that is how he always introduced us. And I can't believe that it's been so long since then. When my friend Eric, who used to live in this neighborhood, was like, yeah, you want to do comedy? This is the place to go. There's a show at a place called Phyllis's by my house. They have this show, and that's when I showed up here. And through this show, the first thing I did was fall in love with Shag's sidekick, Mr. Stumbly. And then I met my very good friend Jane Ripley. We are still friends to this day, like 23 years later. I met my good friend Elizabeth Harper. I met Rich Experience. I did comedy, I did poetry. See, when I first started out, I was doing stand-up, and I said, okay, if they can do comedy and poetry, so if they laugh, I did stand-up. If they didn't, I did poetry. And that was a win-win for me. And, but I just want to say, wow. Shag was a unique guy. And the cool thing about Shag was that Shag was Shag. In fact, until I read his obituary, I didn't even know his real name. Didn't need to. He was Shag. And he wore his suits the way he wore them. He spoke his own way. He drank his own way.
Nobody seems to know how long all of these buildings belong till they become part of you. People get down on your knees. Buildings are like a disease, and you could wind up in a zoo. And most people do. My favorite buildings are all laid to waste. One might as well sculpt a statue from toothpaste. And someday I could have a 50-inch waist. It's all free for my favorite buildings and me. Thank you.
Tremors that just take a long time. We shared a long time. Yeah, I miss out. Thank you. It's a poem by Joe Rorty. This is an elegy. Drinking on an empty stomach seemed like a good idea at the time, but now the nausea is descending in waves. I hope I can survive the train ride home. The newspaper headline said Tennessee Williams is dead. And as the train pulls into the station, I decide my stomach is too upset to chance it. I'll wait for the next one. What's more, I have to piss. And if you walk to the end of the Washington Street platform, there's a deserted spot. Jesus, remember that lunatic who stabbed a half a dozen people to death on the L platforms? He used to trains for his getaways. Watching urine roll away from the wall, darkening the floor, I think of the death of Tennessee Williams. Already he is a remembrance, and I hope no cop or worse discovers me. Time darkens the floor we walk upon as it rolls to the edge of the platform, and it is time for another train to pull into the station, but I am more nauseated than before, and let this one go by too. Tennessee Williams is now beyond time. Shag is now beyond time. Like a memory, his death leaves a hole in time, and like a great big horror fleck, smoke rolls off the dry ice and the wind rises and there's an eerie organ music. Now I feel really nauseated and stagger off. Not too badly, I hope. Back to the end of the platform. I think I'm gonna puke. I lean my forehead against the cool concrete wall and wait. I seem to feel my skull on one side of me and the wall on the other. Me squeezed in between, all skin, all soft, stony red. Tennessee Williams is no longer squeezed between his bones. Shag is no longer squeezed between his bones. His heart is uncaged from his ribs, his tongue free from the mouth's dark cave. Free from the mouth's dark bars. Like Heraclitus, his tongue rested on the stones of a dark cave, pondering flux and reflux. I feel better now, a little. My stomach has moderated its churning. I sit on the bench and ponder the death of Shag, his soul in the darkness of the lightness, singing sweetly and freely. It will never stop singing. It cannot. His soul is all song. Nothing but the concatenation of the lyric breath entrapped in the interstices of strands of song. Us. Like a billowing sail, his membranous soul, impossibly fine and rare, puffed out, billowing, too fine for time now. He is driven by the intimations of dreams only. Us, reaching still for the further note, the other note, waiting for trains. The train is pulling out into the station. Finally, my train, the train for me to ride.
For Shag!
In dark bars.
What do they do?
In dark bars.
Social realism.
In dark bars.
Men and women, guys
and
gals. The bastards and bitches come out at night laughing at all the lonely people.
In dark bars.
They make you as naked as in a dream to their arbitrary judgments, just like a kangaroo court.
In dark bars.
Social realism, men and women, guys and gals.
In dark bars.
Hey, Shag, do you think I should talk to her? Shappy asked me.
Don't bother.
She'll only humiliate you. Not only
in dark bars.
Hey, Shag, do you think I should tell her just exactly what I think of her? Exasperation, desperation, depression,
in dark bars.
In dark bars. Social realism, men and women, guys and gals. Hey, Shag, she said, do you think I should go out to dinner with him this Friday?
Maybe.
No, he said, I certainly hope not, seeing that we had plans this Friday. Exasperation, desperation, depression, in dark bars. What do people talk about? What do they do? Social realism, men and women, guys and gals, the bastards and the bitches come out, they laugh at all the lonely, pathetic people. They make you as naked as in a dream to their arbitrary judgments, just like a kangaroo boardroom. Dark bars. You think you got a chance?
In dark bars.
Don't force it.
In dark bars.
No hope.
In dark bars.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. So stick around and have a drink and chat.
And also, all you fans out there, let's get a little encouragement, because we need to have an Elizabeth Harper's little thing one night, just sometime over the summer, because she does her Facebook page. We love her for that. She's such a sweetheart, and she's part of the family of Phyllis's. Again, Elizabeth Harper.
Thank you, Clem. Thank you, Clem and Eileen, for all your help, and thanks to Phyllis's Musical Inn.
Let's hear it for Stephanie, your bartender. And Rubinsky's running around, so if you need Robin, thanks for helping out today. Everybody, if you all remember Shag, yeah, I couldn't find a fedora, but it was classic how we used to do this. And this is when I really first started. So I would take all the light, and then I would make a grand entrance and throw on the floodlights. Shag went to the microphone. And I go, okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's his little thing, Shag. And that's how it was years ago. And Bert and everyone that participated, Joe Rory coming all the way from Philadelphia. All you Kates here, hey, this is great, and he will be missed. And just everybody remember, take a day to remember some of your friends every once in a while. Because
Never mind. Anyway, this is called. This is a request by default. This is called Social Realism in Dark Bars. Let me see if I can remember how to operate some lights, which I might know because I once briefly had a small show here back in the, back in the 80s. Oh, here we go. That's the shit. Oh, now we're just approaching the stage.
The show.
Okay, anyway, this is Social Realism in Dark Bars. What do people talk about in dark bars? What do they do in dark bars? Social realism in dark bars. Men and women, guys and gals, the bastards and bitches come out at night laughing at all the lonely people in dark bars. They make you as naked as in a dream to their arbitrary judgments, just like a kangaroo court in dark bars. Social realism, men and women, guys and gals in dark bars. Very good. Hey, Shag, do you think I should talk to her? Shappy asked me. Don't bother, she'll only humiliate you. Not only in dark bars. Hey, Shag, do you think I should tell her just exactly what I think of her? Exasperation, desperation, depression in dark bars. Social realism, men and women, guys and gals. Hey, Shag, she said. Do you think I should go out to dinner with him this Friday? I certainly hope not, seeing that we had plans this Friday.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Exasperation, desperation, depression in dark bars. What do people talk about? What do they do? Social realism, men and women, guys and gals, the bastards and bitches come out and they're laughing at all the lonely, pathetic people. They make you as naked as in a dream to their arbitrary judgments, just like a kangaroo court in dark bars. You think you got a chance in dark bars. Don't fool yourself. In dark bars. No hope. In dark bars. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for listening to me. Be sure to catch me the next time that I appear. Thank you.